She gave me a quick smile, leaned over and whispered something in the asshole's ear. She said as she passed me, "Call me Butch. All my friends do this." For 3 days, this asshole didn't call and didn't show up. He was fired and was never heard from again. And that was the end of it. We remained friends. I thought I had screwed up when I accidentally called her Butch in a management meeting one day. You could have heard a pin drop, and I thought my career was over. She didn't bat an eyelid. She immediately replied, "Okay, Sundance," and everything was fine. If you were Butch's friend, you became a friend for life. "Damn, Sundance, you look like crap!" Sundance became a standard greeting for me after that incident. What's happening? There are rumors around the office that there is a lot of drama going on at your end of the world. That's putting it mildly, Butch. Emotionally devastated, I sank into a chair. I need to rest somewhere for a while. Can I hide with you and Becky? Becky was her partner for 17 years. Of course, Jack. I will have to coordinate this with her, but I don't see a problem. We have a lot of space. Care to tell me about it? I pretty much laid out the situation to her. I didn't miss much, but when I told her what Franny had done and that I was going to fire her, she raised her hand to stop me. You can't fire her, Jack. At the very least, you'll expose us to a wrongful termination lawsuit. It might be worse if she says that you are taking revenge on her for her personal problems not related to work. I don't know if she can do it, but you can't afford to risk it. Bullshit, Butch. So she can just set me up after what she did? Relax, Jack. I have a better idea. Just make an agreement with Bill about her transfer. I need a new administrator. Butch gave me a really wicked smile. And raise her salary. Then she won't be able to say that you were stalking her. You said she needs money? I couldn't help myself. Returning to her smile, I laughed. This was the first good news. And perhaps it will mark the beginning of my recovery on the long road back. You see, Butch had been here for about 5 years, and during that time she had gone through 12. No, it must have been 13 administrative assistants. And that's not even counting those who simply quit after learning that they would work for her. The first few people she went through tried to file all sorts of complaints and lawsuits. None of them were successful because Butch didn't treat anyone any differently than she treated herself. She kept impeccable records and did not tolerate any complaints. Among the administrative staff, she was known as the Angel of Death, because if you worked for her, you were a dead man walking. That evening at their house, I had to tell the whole story again for Becky. Her only reaction was a constant sympathetic shake of her head. Butch seemed to get even angrier. I was glad she was on my side. Having calmed down a little after finishing the story, I told them about my conversation with Franny after Dakota left. "Oh, this quiet girl will really like working for me, Jack." I decided it would be a short story. Since I love punishment, I asked them about Franny's comment about the beta. This is a masculine trait, right? Butch rolled her eyes at me. Of course you're a beta, Jack. God, do you really want to know what a beta male is? He is an amazing lover because he cares about what his partner wants in bed. He remains faithful and is a wonderful father to his children. He can have conversations with his wife that do not concern their sex life. A beta male cares deeply about his family. He does sometimes wash his clothes and clean up after himself. He is reliable and not a control freak. He is not threatened by either his friends or his wife's independence. There are a million other things, Jack. Franny wasn't insulting you, she was complimenting you. But what about Dakota's comment about the alpha gene? At this point, Becky intervened. You'll have to ask Dakota about that. You know that in any case you will have to do this, at least for your peace of mind. I don't pretend to understand her motives for doing what she did, but I can understand her thought process. What? Relax, Jack, let me explain by asking you a question. Do you think Butch is alpha or beta? Definitely an alpha. You're wrong. She may be an alpha at work, but at home she's definitely a beta. Why do you think I was with her all these years? When she's at home, she's just like a beta. This really surprised me. I looked at Butch. She smiled wryly and nodded her head. That's right, Jack. I'm the alpha in our partnership. Butch allows me to control our relationship both in and out of bed. She's an alpha. No, that's not quite right. She has to be an alpha at work, which allows her to be a beta at home. She needs both to be complete. And Jack, the truth is that we all move between alpha and beta personality characteristics depending on our circumstances. Unless, of course, you are a sociopath. Butch's eyes were wet. She looked at Becky with loving admiration. I knew they were kindred spirits. I remembered a similar look from Dakota. God, I wonder if this is true. Men can probably do the same, but as a rule, women are better at separating the situation. I think Dakota was telling Franny the truth when she told her she needed both of you to be whole. At that moment, Butch stood up, sat on Becky's lap, and they began to kiss passionately. I started apologizing and got up to leave. "Don't go, Jack," they spoke at the same time. "We will behave well," and they laughed, embarrassed. "It's true, Jack. Becky is my soulmate, but she runs the show here. How do you feel about all this?" It took me a long time to collect myself and formulate my thoughts. This insight was new, and it made my brain hurt. But I came to understand the contradiction that was in my life. You know, after listening and observing your communication, I really believe that she loves me and needs me. But the problem is that instead of being honest about the life she needed at the beginning of our relationship, she turned my life into a lie. And she did it for her own selfish reasons. She knew I wouldn't do it, so to get what she wanted, she lied to me. I will never forgive her for this. So what's next, Jack? What about your children? I have to believe that they love you too. And you told us that you love them? You can't just turn them off because of what their mother did. I don't know, Butch, I just don't know. I know that Dakota and I are getting a divorce, and nothing on this earth will make me change my mind. I know it's petty, and it could end my relationship with Helena and Sheridan, but I'm going to hurt Dakota and her lover, and it hurts bad. Out of curiosity, what do you both think of Franny's role in this mess? Becky was silent, but Butch spoke up. I don't know if this makes sense, Sundance, but in some ways her betrayal seems even worse to me. I mean, your wife is who she is. I think that for all of Dakota's flaws, her actions were dictated by her internal ideas about love, need, and compassion. But Franny's betrayal was cunning, calculating, and unforgivable. Leave it to me. I nodded my head, knowing that they understood. Guys, I'm going to bed. Thanks for letting me spend the night here. My cell phone buzzed all night, indicating a text or call from Dakota. I never read, listened to, or responded to any of the more than 20. The next day in the office, I worked through the issue of Franny's transfer. She was scheduled to start work as Butch's assistant on Monday. May God have mercy on her soul. In the meantime, she was sent home with her salary until the end of the week. I was still living with Butch and Becky. I was very grateful to them, and they seemed in no hurry to get rid of me. I completely ignored all of Dakota's attempts to contact me. What's the point of this? I instructed security to keep Dakota away from the office and parking lot. A few days after this, an unexpected visitor came to my office. It was Montana, Dakota's older sister. It's probably my fault for forgetting to mention Montana to security. Montana never treated me warmly, and I probably didn't treat her either. When she was next to me, she had a perpetual grin on her face. It's like she knows something that I don't. Since I no longer had an administrative assistant, she showed up unannounced in my office with her signature grin. Maybe today I can wipe it off my face forever. What do you need, Montana? It's like I don't know. Can I at least come in and sit down, Jack? Of course, but don't get too comfortable. You won't be here long. I pointed her to a chair. Look, Jack, I know you and I haven't been the best of friends over the years, but please listen to me for a few minutes, and then I'll get off you. There was still a hint of arrogance in her voice, as if she were talking to a petulant 10-year-old child. You know she loves you, Jack, and she will do anything to correct her mistake. Do you believe that she loves you? I tried my best to suppress my laughter, but it still came out. You know, Montana, I really believe that she loves me, but it doesn't matter. I feel nothing but contempt and disgust for her. Anything else? I am really busy. You're an idiot, Jack. You always have been. I don't know what she saw in you. Well, at least we agree on this, Montana. I don't know what she saw in me either. I spat it out with as much disgust as I could muster. I didn't come to argue, Jack. Since you don't want to talk to her, she wrote this letter for you. She leaned across the table and handed me a thick, white envelope. I took the letter from her. On the front, in Dakota's handwriting, was written, "For my dear Jack." I sighed and stood up. With great enthusiasm, I approached the shredder. I placed the unopened letter in it, all the while keeping my eyes on Montana. Now a grin was on my face. "You're a stupid, childish boy, Jack. You are bringing a lot of pain on yourself and your family." She spat nails as she stomped toward the door. "Hey, Montana, before you go, do you want to tell me about Brockton Bozeman?" She froze midway. She slowly turned to me. "I do not know what you're talking about." Her arrogance disappeared and her voice became desperati. Her angry facade was quickly crumbling. "Surely your husband Troy would be interested in—" "No, Jack, please." She was falling apart. "This has nothing to do with Troy. I was just trying to help Dakota. She really loves you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. I think she already knew that the end was near for her. "Is there really nothing I can do?" "You have a week, Montana. If you don't tell Troy everything, or try to somehow hide the truth about your other life, he will get everything. All the evidence I have, and I have a lot of it. He'll get it either way, but since I'm such a nice guy, I'm giving you a week to see if you can sell Troy your lifestyle. But if by the end of the week he doesn't come to me in person and say that he doesn't care about all this, he will get everything. Jack, please, I know you don't believe me, but I really love Troy. He means everything to me. Yes, I've heard this before. In about 5 minutes, she went from an arrogant bitch to a sad child. I even felt a little guilty for doing it. No matter how strange it may seem to you, Montana, I believe you. True, I believe it. That's why I'm giving you a week. If I didn't believe that you loved him, he would simply receive a rather large package at work tomorrow. Jack, no, I beg you. Are your 2 boys really his children, Montana? Please, Jack, you don't understand. Everything is not what you think. Please let me explain. Looks like I got my answer. You have a week. Goodbye, Montana. Please close the door when you leave. I started rummaging through the papers on my desk. I couldn't look at her anymore. I didn't really know Troy that well, but he deserved to know. You see, the Ennis people discovered that Montana, who was a couple of years older than Dakota, was living the same lifestyle. Maybe Dakota got the idea from her, or maybe they both got it from their mother or from Cosmo. Who knows? It didn't matter. I heard the door close. I picked up the phone. Yes, Ennis, burn them. Music to my ears, buddy, music to my ears. But Jackson, you're going to have to make some decisions, and they won't be easy. None of this has been easy so far, Ennis. What now? He was very measured in his answer. I think an annulment is a win-win option. Based on the evidence we've collected and Franny's sworn statement, that's not a problem. We must file your petition along with the annulment affidavit and then serve it on her. It couldn't be easier. I'm going to make it loud. I will make sure that all interested media receive information about this. But if we do this, you will give up all visitation custody rights to your children. You won't have to pay alimony or child support. It will look like the girls were never in your life. He paused for a moment. Unless, of course, Dubois and she allow you to visit them, which is unlikely after we burn their carcasses. I can't let you leave me halfway, Jackson. Either you stay in this until the end, or we just file for divorce and you leave much poorer. What will you choose, partner? Damn, things are only getting worse. Damn, Ennis, I need to think. I'll contact you in a couple of days. Okay, Jackson, but I'm ready to go now. Let me know. I loved my girls. At first, when I heard them call Dubois daddy, I was angry with them. Then I realized that all they knew was that they had 2 dads who loved them. It wasn't their fault. Who knows what Dakota told them? To be honest, I didn't know which way to go. I discussed it with Butch and Becky when I got home that evening. They didn't give me an answer one way or another. I couldn't blame them. I still haven't decided which way to go. But because of the girls, I was leaning toward divorce. And then Dakota made my decision easier. She talked to Montana. What a shock. After work, I went for a drink at the Horse's Head Bar and Grill. I had no idea why it was called that. There was not a single thing related to horses, but it was usually quiet there, and I needed it to sort out my thoughts alone. But this did not happen. My thoughts were rudely interrupted. "Hello, Jack?" "Dakota." "We need to talk, Jack. But first I want to show you something. Please come outside with me." She didn't wait for an answer. She simply headed toward the door. What the hell? I put a 20 in my glass, waved to the bartender, and went to get it. Once outside in the still bright late afternoon sun, after our eyes had adjusted, she pointed at the Chevrolet SUV. "Do you see them, Jack?" I glanced around the parking lot, closing my eyes. I saw the asshole Dubois with Sheridan and Helena sitting inside. Dubois had a sour expression on his face, but he did not look directly in my direction. He simply looked straight ahead. But I clearly saw my girls. They looked at me desperately and cried. Dubois started the engine and drove away. God, what has Dakota done? In a voice full of venom, she made the decision for me. If you and I don't come to an understanding right here and now, Jack, this will be the last time you see your daughters. If you divorce me, you know I'll get custody. Oh, you'll get visitation rights, but I'll do my best to make sure that doesn't happen. I will blame you for destroying our family. By the time I'm done, they'll never want to see you again. Despite everything that had happened, I was stunned by her audacity. Not for doing it, but for dragging Sheridan and Helena into it. What do you want, Dakota? I want us to be together again, Jack. I want my family back. You just have to come to terms with the reality of Byron being in my life. I know they are not my daughters, Dakota. Of course they are your daughters, Jack. I loved two men, and I never knew for sure which one was the biological father, but I knew that you were the best man who could raise them. You're still lying to me, Dakota. I can always tell when you do it. That's not true, Jack. What makes you think that you can determine that? Because your lips always move when you lie. It took her a moment to realize this. Jack, get away from me, you stupid, vindictive bitch. See you in court. I headed straight to my car. As I was leaving, I called Ennis. Go ahead. Annul the marriage, Ennis. I'm with you until the end. Yes, and burn that piece of crap too, Dubois. I hung up before he could answer. It was clear to me that no matter what choice I made, she would use girls as weapons against me. I had no choice. It was time to put an end to this. Maybe in a few years I will be able to somehow talk some sense into Sheridan and Helena. I had no idea what might happen after Dakota was sued, so I moved out of Butch and checked into a hotel. I have already taken care of all the administrative and financial matters. Ennis was going to serve her with a temporary restraining order. He told me it would only be in place for a few weeks, and then we would have to go to a hearing to make it permanent. Of course, permanent in our state meant 3 years. But Ennis had high hopes that, having received the order, she would immediately violate it by coming to my work to curse me. Or, better yet, hit me. He thought it would be really cool if she bled me or broke one of my bones. He said if she did as he hoped, it would make the standing order a win-win. Sometimes I doubted whose side he was on. All that now remained to be done was to hand her the documents and wait for the hearing. 2 days later, Dakota did exactly as Ennis had hoped. She rushed past the security desk, burst into my office, and began throwing things while swearing like a sailor. She slapped me several times before the guards were able to subdue her and take her into custody for the police. Ennis was disappointed that she didn't hurt me more, but he figured we could make the order permanent anyway. A divorce hearing was scheduled in 60 days. Ennis was a man of his word. He made sure that all the media knew when, where, and what would happen. Dakota's lawyer tried to have the hearing closed to the public, but the judge was ready for a re-election, so he denied their request. Ennis was right. An annulment was a win-win situation. But he dragged out the hearing and, showing surprisingly good acting skills, gave it as much drama as possible. I got a cancellation, he got a talk show, and the gossip got increased ratings. 6 days after talking with Montana, her husband Troy visited me. Damn, I'm just not as strong as you, Jack. I love her and want to give her a chance. Our children are grown up and will soon be leaving for college, but I still need them in my life. On top of that, I'm too old to start over. He was very emotional. Couldn't you just keep the evidence to yourself? I'm afraid that if I saw them, I wouldn't be able to overcome it. There was confusion in his voice. Maybe I'll need them later. Of course, you know that the children are not yours, right? She told you about this, didn't she? He just nodded his head in agreement. Troy, is she still planning on sleeping with her second husband? He shook his head, but looked down at his feet. My boys, Jack, I am their father, regardless of who the sperm donor was. I just can't give them up. And she says no, that she will give up this lifestyle if I stay with her. It's weird, I know, but I think she really loves me. That was different. I understand, Troy, and perhaps you really are stronger than the two of us. I just can't leave it, you know? He solemnly shook his head in understanding, shook my hand, and left. I never saw him or Montana again. I heard they moved out of state as soon as their 2 children graduated from high school. On the same day that I met Troy, Mrs. Byron Dubois received a rather thick and heavy package from FedEx. Things went very quickly for Mr. Dubois. Perhaps this was a mistake on my part, because when the court ordered Dubois to pay back my child support a few months later, he no longer even had a potty to pee in. I thought Ennis was going to have a heart attack when he found out he would only get 40% of $250 a month. Yes, he was so angry that he took back his promise of a 5% discount. However, he calmed down when I asked him how much he gets for his talk show. About 6 months after the annulment, I contacted Dakota and asked if we could meet to talk. Everyone told me I needed closure. Whatever it was, I had questions. We met at the Horse's Head. Are you kidding me? After what you did to Byron and me? It'll be a cold day in hell before you see my girls. If you so much as whisper anything to them, I will put a ban on you so quickly your head will spin. After what I did to you? You're a little delusional. I had to take a deep breath because getting into a shouting match was not an option. What if I lift the restraining order and agree to fund the girls' college education? I know you and Byron are surviving. As you said, they are not to blame for anything. I know you want them to have the opportunity to go to a good college. I saw that she was softening. I don't know, Jack. Listen, Dakota, I'll even babysit if you want to go away for the weekend or something. I know they're at an age where they don't need it, but I'm just trying to be able to keep them in my life, to show them that I still love them. And I won't lie to you, maybe to explain why I acted the way I did. I promise I won't talk bad about you. Let me just say that you wanted to lead a different lifestyle from mine, and we both decided that it would be better if we went our separate ways. Let me think about it. The tone of her voice dropped to an almost normal level. Do you mind, Dakota, if I ask you a few questions? It's probably not a big deal, but it bothers me and I'd like answers. Please tell me the truth. It won't undo anything that's been done. Whatever, Jack. She started to get impatient. Her behavior infuriated me, but as far as she was concerned, I didn't need much. Why? You actually ruined my life, and for what? She let out an indignant sigh. You did this to yourself, Jack. She felt that I was ready to explode, and raising both hands, she continued to speak. I know. It was my actions that separated us, but it was you who used scorched earth on me. I had no choice. You tore out my soul and fed it to the wild dogs. What did you expect from me? When you found out, I, of course, expected that you would be hurt. But I thought we would sit down and talk about it like adults and figure it out somehow. You know, Troy and Montana are still together, right? People talk. Jack, solve their problems. To be fair, Dakota, Montana told him she would leave her lover, not that I believed her, to try to make their marriage normal. You told me that I would have to come to terms with Byron's presence in your life. It was obvious that this hurt her. She changed tactics. I didn't mean to hurt you, Jack. You have to admit that until the moment you saw Byron and me, You thought you had a wonderful life. I helped you find this life. I loved you deeply. My heart broke when you left me. Well, that raises a really big question. Why did you need both of us? I don't know, Jack. She took a deep, slow breath. My sister did it, and some of my friends did too. You may not know it, but this lifestyle is becoming more and more acceptable. Oh, please, I snorted mockingly. Then why not discuss this with me openly before we get married? Oh, and by the way, did you actually have sex with Dubois on our wedding day? First of all, who told you this? This is a complete lie. I would never do that. She really looked incredulous. Secondly, if I told you, would you agree to the wedding? No, you wouldn't do that, and I loved you very much. But sometimes I just wanted sex. Don't get me wrong, I loved what you did to me in bed, but you just didn't have it in you to take me and not worry about me getting hurt. I understood that she was sincere, if not delusional. It was obvious that I wouldn't get anything resembling a satisfactory answer, so I moved on. What could she say that would make sense? Why did you have to have sex with him in my bed? I know you won't believe me, but this was the first and only time we ever did this in our house, let alone a bed. It definitely raised my eyebrows, but somehow I believed her. Well, then why that time? She sighed again, but this time with sadness. Byron and his stupid alpha tendencies. He just needed to push, and in a moment of weakness, I gave in. Stupid, stupid, stupid. She was close to tears. By the way, about alpha and beta, oh God, Jack, maybe you'll leave it alone. You were a wonderful husband, father, and lover. Then why children? And don't tell me it wasn't intentional. I know better. She at least had the decency to look guilty before answering. Jack, you're basically an anonymous middle manager in a mid-sized company. For heaven's sake, you drive a minivan. Your idea of fun is sitting at home in your terrible man cave watching sports on TV. Byron's idea of entertainment is to charter a plane and fly to the game, or fly to Vegas for the weekend. Byron drives Corvettes and owns, or at least used to own, his own successful business. This lifestyle is intoxicating, but not beneficial in the long run. Yes, but you are with him, not with me. I'm afraid it won't last long. Is it true? Yeah, living with that arrogant asshole full-time is a whole lot different than having him around part-time. Besides, he's a terrible father, just as I suspected. I really don't feel sorry for you, Dakota. What a lousy situation. I wanted to strangle her. You made your own bed. Listen, Jack, I know I screwed up big time with that little escapade at the bar with the girls. It was stupid of me, I know, but I was completely desperate and decided that I had nothing to lose. God, how I wish I could undo this part, if not everything else. She fell silent for a moment, and as for me, I didn't feel any better about this conversation, so to hell with the ending. I started to get up and leave. Jack, wait. She grabbed my hand. I still love you, and I always will. I want you to know that if you come back to me, everything will work out. I promise that I will never see Byron again and will spend the rest of my life doing everything I can to make it up to you. I pulled my hand away from her, stood up, and looked down at her. Sorry, Dakota. It's too late for that. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Think about what I said about girls. Goodbye, Dakota. Jack, wait. Please don't leave. I need you in my life. I didn't even look back. I never received a response from Dakota regarding my proposal for girls. Hell, I didn't know if she was still with Dubois or living on the streets. I didn't really care. But the ignorance about Helena and Sheridan continued to gnaw at me, sometimes driving me into a frenzy. They were innocent pawns in this story. Did I do the right thing? I was sitting at my favorite neighborhood dive bar, Emilio's. I was already sipping my second Jack and soda when Emilio put another one in front of me and shook his head in exasperation. Almost 2 years had passed since the annulment, and I was still feeling sorry for myself. I knew that if I didn't tip so well, he would have kicked me out of his bar a long time ago. Every evening when I came, which was almost always, he greeted me the same way. Amazing! Here comes Mr. Sunshine. Try not to suck the life out of my place again today, okay, Jack? Apparently, he felt that I was not exactly the life of the party. Drinks paid for by the lady at the end of the bar. He jerked his head to the left. Are you going to go cry on her shoulder and basically make a fool of yourself? She'll run away from this place like everyone else, and it'll cost me money, you idiot. And he walked away, muttering to himself. And here I thought Emilio had replaced Ennis as my best friend. I looked back and saw Franny approaching. That was a surprise. I stood frozen in place, looking at her. I only saw Franny in the company building a couple of times. I tried not to even notice her existence, but one day she cornered me near the break room. I'm not leaving, Jack. This bitch can fire me if she wants, but I'm not going to give her a reason. I won't give you that pleasure. And she left. I immediately went to Butch's office. I was beside myself with rage. Why is this bitch still here? Calm down, Sundance. I treat her the same as any other administrative assistant I've ever had. She's simply the best I've ever seen. She accepts everything I do to her. If she fails, she fails. But Franny will stay as long as she delivers. And there she stood before me, still an administrative employee of Butch. It was definitely a record. Her resilience finally killed my hatred for her. I simply perceived it as an invisible part of a past life. Hello, Jack. How are you? When I didn't answer, she continued. Do you think we could talk? I paused for a long time. Maybe it's time. Yes, Franny. I think we can do it. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one. Listening to the next one.